It's the black guy in the corner, but they'd rather see a on the corner. They say I'm stealing Nick's clips like I'm stealing Nick's chick, not knowing that I hit him first week for the lick. I said, Nick, I could post here while you post there. Let's run the ads up, then let's meet up over there.
Good evening, everybody. You're watching America First. My name is Nicholas J. Fuentes. We have a great show for you tonight. Very excited to be back here with you tonight on Monday. We have some things to talk about. I mean, I guess it's kind of just been like the slowest month, I think, ever in the history of the show. We do have a big show for you tonight. There are some things to get into, some things to talk about. Our featured story, we're going to be catching up on the partial government shutdown from Friday, which we did not get to cover. I didn't do a show on Friday. And I don't remember if we've ever done a show about it up to this point yet. But this is part of the fallout from the killing of Alex Preddy and Renee Good. It became politically impossible for the Democrats to approve any appropriations, any funding, any legislation that has anything to do with DHS, ICE, and mass deportations. To that end, there was a minibus spending bill which was on its way to full passage in the middle of January. $1.7 trillion in spending would have funded a half dozen departments and agencies. But after the death of the two protesters, the Democrats basically had to shut it down. And so we did discuss this a little bit about a month ago. The Democrats insisted that the minibus bill, and a minibus, an omnibus, all it is funding a bunch of different things in one bill. They insisted that this minibus bill be split up so that DHS funding would be separate from all the other departments and agencies. And the reason being is because Democrats do not want to fund DHS until and unless the White House agrees to restrictions on the ability of ICE to do their job. So the Democrats said, we're not going to vote for the spending package if there's DHS money, and we're not going to vote for DHS money unless you agree to this 10-point plan. And inside the plan, it's all kinds of things like they don't want ICE to be able to wear face masks. They want ICE to require a warrant from a judge to be able to arrest somebody, which is going to make mass deportations impossible, among other things. And so, long story short, we'll get into the details. The government is now partially shut down. Republicans and Democrats were not able to come to an agreement about DHS, about ICE. And so on Friday, the funding for DHS lapsed, and now that department is effectively shut down. It's closed. As we talked about a little bit last week, this is not going to affect ICE, ironically. ICE has enough money from last year's big, beautiful bill, so the shutdown will affect all the other agencies within Homeland Security, like the TSA, the Coast Guard, some others. And here's the thing, and this is what we're going to get into tonight. The partial government shutdown in and of itself is not that interesting. Like I just said, ICE is actually insulated from the effects of the shutdown. So although there are not any mass deportations going on, if there were, it would not affect them. The reason why this is consequential is because this is a preview of what we're going to be in for the next 3 years. Okay? We are headed for an utter and total defeat in the midterms. And I really shouldn't even say we. By we, I mean the Republican Party. And I don't really identify as a Republican anymore, if I ever did. But when the Republicans lose in 2026 and they're going to get destroyed, this is what it's going to look like from now until 2029. And by that, I mean the Democrats right now control fewer than half the seats in the Senate. After these midterms, they're going to control a majority in the chamber, the House, where all the revenue bills, all the spending bills actually have to come from. So you think it's bad now? We had the longest government shutdown in history in the fall. We're having a partial government shutdown over DHS and specifically mass deportations right now. Just wait until Democrats control the House. You cannot do anything. Nothing will happen. So for anybody that thinks things are going to get better, people say we're going to get back on track. We got to show up in the midterms to I don't even know what's even the argument now. What's the pitch? Anybody that's saying that is delusional because they're going to get destroyed. The Democrats will take the House, and then it is impeachment city. We are taking a trip to impeachment city. Everybody knows us. Trump is getting impeached. Vance is getting impeached. Hegseth they're all getting impeached. They're all being subpoenaed. They're all being deposed. And forget about any legislation. Forget about anything. Like I said, mass deportations. To even have a functioning government, they're going to try to shut down ICE. You understand that, right? That is their mandate. They are going into 2026, into 27, with a majority, with a mandate, literally to obstruct and nothing else. And I predicted all this in 2024. I told you exactly this is how it would play out. So we'll talk about it. It's going to be a good show. Before we get into it, I want to remind you to smash the follow button on Rumble, smash the like button, leave a comment. Let me know what you think about the show. Remember to check out our merch store at Fuentes.store. We got hats, shirts, sweatshirts, quarter zips. It's all there. We are working on our spring and summer lineup, so stay tuned for that. That is Fuentes.store. If you want to support the show, make sure to subscribe. Become a Plus subscriber at AmericaFirst.plus. $15 a month, you get access to the archive, all the shows, everything I've ever done. It's all up there. $100 a month, you get to be in the Telegram group chat with me. And I was in there all weekend. I was pretty quiet on Twitter because it's just there's nothing happening. But I was very talkative in the group chat. I did a whole show already today. I think I did about an hour worth of voice messages, and I talked about a lot of stuff. I did a bunch of them on Saturday. I did some stuff today. So if you're not in the $100 a month club, you're broke. You're broke, and you're missing out, and you don't really love me, and you don't really support me. Because honestly, that's just where it's happening. That's just where you need to be. You don't have $100 a month to fork over for the movement. What are we doing with our lives? But if you're poor, broke, whatever, temporarily embarrassed, piece of shit, you can do the $15. That's perfectly fine too. That's AmericaFirst.plus. We're just joking, of course. Before we get into the news, we have to talk a little bit more about Clavicular. We do have to talk a little bit more about what's actually happening in the real world. You know, we're talking about politics. We're talking about the government shutdown, the Middle East. Yeah, okay, whatever. Now let's talk about what's really going on. Let's talk about, whatever. Let's talk about what's happening in the real world, okay? And listen up, okay? Listen. Hey, listen. This is important, and this is important, okay? Before we get into the actual news, the political stuff, we gotta talk about this. As you all know, Saturday was Valentine's Day. For all of the Chads and Stacys that observe, all the Chads and Stacys that actually have affection in their lives, boyfriends and girlfriends, hey, congratulations, all right? Happy Valentine's Day. I really hope you had a good time, sincerely. However, there was something else going on Saturday. We just got to talk about it very briefly because Saturday night, Valentine's Day, I don't have any plans. Everybody was saying, because I canceled the show on Friday, they said, he's got a girlfriend, he's on a date, he has Valentine's Day plans. There just wasn't anything in the news on Friday, and I was tired and didn't feel like it. So on Saturday, I'm hanging out. I'm watching a movie. I ordered a pizza by myself. Doesn't get any better than this. Then I go on Twitter. Did you see this clip? We're going to talk about this clavicular clip. And to me, this is just like, this is my ideology, okay? This is my worldview. A lot of people say, like, what are you really about? What are your real beliefs? When are you being ironic? When are you being serious? I saw this clip, and this is my ideology, okay? This is my worldview. Tell me if you've seen it. I actually replied to a few of the clips on Saturday. I'm watching the clip on Twitter. Clavicular is at a bar, and he's doing his thing. You know, he's out of prison. He has destroyed the Peter Thiel network. J.D. Vance campaign has crashed and burned into 6 million pieces. Clavicular undefeated. He's doing his normal thing. He's at the bar. In this clip, there is this girl who is just like enamored with him. She is just giving him the bedroom eyes, totally enraptured with him. And her boyfriend is standing right there next to them. Clav is there on stream, mogging everybody. And this girl, she's okay looking. She is just, like I said, she's enamored. She's giving him this look. It's unbelievable. And the boyfriend is standing not next to the girlfriend, but on the opposite side of Clav. Girlfriend, Clav, boyfriend. And the boyfriend, no exaggeration, is literally begging him not to steal his girlfriend. This guy is begging Clav, saying, bro, please, don't take my girl. You have every other girl. It's Valentine's Day. Literally begging him not to steal his bitch. And go and watch the clip. Zero exaggeration. It's pathetic. It's pathetic. He's going, please don't steal my girl. You have hundreds of girls. You have goyim in abundance. You have foids in abundance. Please don't steal my girl. We've been together for a year. Have mercy. And dude, the girl is like not even paying attention to him. She is getting the ick so hard. It's like he doesn't even exist. He's invisible. He's invisible. He does not exist. He's not even there. She's totally enamored. And I guess they were dating or talking for a year. She gives Clav her number. Then she gets with him in the Sprinter van and they take off. And they just take off. They just go out of the bar on Valentine's Day. This is my ideology, okay? And this is my ideology. This is what is happening in the world today. The Middle East, who cares? Jeffrey Epstein, who cares? Congress, doesn't matter. This is the real world today. Your girl is going. Hey, listen up, pal. I got a news flash for you. Nice guy, I don't give a shit. Good father, you. Your girl is going. It is the big 2-6 and your girl is going. This is a reality for young men. This is a reality of hypergamy. And this is real. Picture this. You take your girl to the bar for Valentine's Day. Terrible idea to begin with. Why even go there? But he's with this girl for a year, ostensibly. This is the information that was provided. We don't really know that. He brings his girl to the bar on Valentine's Day. He's not even a bad-looking guy, okay? No homo, okay, everybody? But he's not like even a bad-looking guy. It's not like he's a complete chud. Takes a girl to the bar. In walks the destroyer of worlds. The destroyer of worlds, the Kali Yuga, walks in with the ring light, with the live stream, the aura, status maxed, looks maxed, everything maxed. And she's gone. She doesn't even see you, little bro. You're not even there. Hey, Clav, here's my number. And this, by the way, why am I saying this? What is the purpose of all this? This is why all simps must die. This is why simps die and God laughs. Simps make a plan and God laughs at them. Simps purchase a gift, plan a date, an elaborate proposal. God laughs. The universe laughs. She's going. She's already going. Here is the point. All these guys out there, whenever I do my show and they tell me, you hate women. Why do you hate all women? Why are you a misogynist? What's your problem? You're not really trad. You're an asshole. Okay, let me tell you something. Those same guys love to say it's these modern women. Oh, it's all these modern women. It's all these left-wing women. It's these degenerate women, right? They say, it's our job. We need to be better men. We need to lead them. We're the Christian Knights of Columbus. We're like the knights of yore. We're like the knights from the Middle Ages. We have to be better. We just have to be better providers, more affectionate, more sensitive, whatever. If they became left-wing or degenerate, it's our fault. It's the scarcity of good men, which is the real problem. Don't blame the women. It's the man's fault. It honestly doesn't even matter. Because here's the truth. Every woman would drag themselves across 6 million miles of broken glass on fire just for the opportunity to throw themselves at the status maxed, looks maxed Chad. And that's the reality. All the simping, all of the white knighting, all of this kind of stuff that you see, it's all in vain. All these little tricks, whatever. Because in the end, you are just gesturing for a woman who the second that the biologically superior male walks in the room, as Eggy once said in the Black Pill Manifesto, she's gone, okay? You're out there at work providing, she's with 500 football players. It's the way of the world. That's the way it is. On Valentine's Day, no less. Let this be a lesson. So I saw that clip and I was just like, this is just brutal. Go and watch the clip. I replied to it on Twitter. If you haven't seen it, this is like required viewing. Everybody was attacking me for replying. I don't know what the problem is. But I saw this clip and I was just like, honestly, it was like I got punched in the stomach. I was like, this is the most brutal, devastating thing I've ever seen in my entire life. The guy is literally begging her. No, rather, he's begging Clav. The girl, and then, so she's looking at Clav. She is just like, she's gone. And the guy is like, Clav, please have mercy. Don't, you have every other girl. It's Valentine's Day. It's like in these movies, like, come on, but it's Christmas. Don't murderate my entire family. It's Christmas. It's Valentine's Day. Don't steal my girl. And Clav blew smoke in his face and said, are you begging me for mercy? He's okay. And I'm not simping. I'm just saying, like, what, like, how do you recover from that? It's just kind of like over. I think it's just kind of over for everybody. The guy's literally, and Clav goes, are you begging me for mercy? Okay, who is he? Then here's where it really gets good. This was actually my real favorite part. Then she gets on the van. She's in the Sprinter van, and Clav is like, just so disrespectful. He's talking to her. He's like, I don't know, you're like a bitch or something. And she goes, you can literally see the pangs of regret. Pangs of regret, second guessing, doubting herself. She goes, well, I was with this guy at this bar that I've kind of been talking to for like a little while. I don't know. I mean, she goes, maybe if I went with him to the bar, maybe I would have stayed with him. And then all the doubt was just washed away. Then she remembered, oh, wait, I'm in the luxury Sprinter van. Never mind. It's like, dude, it's a movie. It's a movie. It's a movie. And here's the thing. Now, here's actually, so I'm being a little bit funny about it, but this is something that we actually all have to deal with. This phenomenon is something that we are all dealing with. We are all witnessing. We are all feeling things about it. Excuse me, burp. This is, I just had a Red Bull before the show. This is something that we all have to deal with, like socially, intellectually. And here's what I'm talking about. I went on Tucker Carlson back in October, and he was treating me like I was some kind of freak because I blame women for our problems. He said that on the All In podcast. He said, I brought Nick Fuentes on my show, and all I did was let him talk. And he revealed that he was afraid of women and hates women, and he's a complete freak. And I knew that was his angle. He was baiting me to talk about women because he wanted to do the thing like Alex Jones did also, where they say, you know, women aren't the problem. It's men and women. It's more complicated than that, whatever. Here's the thing that the Gen Xers, the boomers, this is what you guys don't understand. We are all dealing with the issue of hypergamy. It is real. It is a law of the land. It is suffocating and ever present. And it is only when you see these vignettes, which upon actual reflection are deeply troubling and deeply disturbing. And you would use words like brutal, devastating, severe. It's only when you actually see these vignettes, which I think are very provocative and visceral, do you actually begin to realize the problem. And what do I mean by that? What does it say that a guy is at a bar with a girl that maybe he's been talking to for a year, and she literally treats him like he doesn't exist because some live streamer walked in? What does that say about the stability of any relationship? What does that say about the chances of any guy to be in a stable relationship with a woman? What does a guy have to do? And you know me, I'm an incel. I'm not saying this out of desperation. I'm status maxed. I'm famous and stuff. I could probably get a girl if I want to. Okay. But what does it say about your average guy? God forbid, a below average guy. What does that look like for him? For somebody with the looks and the status and the money, they just cut through like a hot knife through butter. This is the definition of hypergamy. For the top 1%, 5%, 10%, it is abundance, limitless. And for everybody else, it's jester. We've all seen the statistics from the dating apps. We all actually are now seeing it live and in person. All it takes is a good-looking face. That's literally it. And you look at a guy like Clavicular, went from 0 to hero, was a complete chud, below average looking guy, taller guy, but below average looks, autistic, so not socially adept, and literally a combination of increasing looks, but also faking some things. Steroids, taping things to his arms to make his sleeves bulge out, putting lifts in his shoes. It's cosmetic, superficial, vain, surface level, and it works. He's got the status, and now the women throw themselves. And this is the reality. If a young, attractive girl is on Instagram at a bar, comes into contact with one of these people from the upper echelon, she's going. She's gone. And without the constraints of shame, marriage, monogamy, morality, this is just the way it is. Haves, have-nots. Very unstable society, very brutal society. And I think that it is the reality. We all have to deal with it. We have to live in reality. We can't be in denial about these things. But there is something tragic here, which is that this really is the implication and the logical end state of women's liberation. This is a logical end state of feminism. And what is feminism and women's liberation but the logical conclusion of individualism and liberalism, rationalism? Once you start to say that women are individuals too, and women should have rights, and women should be educated because women are people, and they're rational, and they need to get educated until age 18 so they can get a job in this industrial economy. All of this follows from that. It all flows from this. And we get a society that is basically devoid of any kind of stability, order, genuine love, affection. Now we just get this, I don't even know what you would call this. I don't even think it's a society at all. It's sort of a very sad situation. And here's sort of the tension that I feel. And it's sort of interesting. Clavicular believes in lookism. And lookism is the idea that looks are the only thing that matter. Why? Because if you have good looks, then you will be sexually successful. If you're sexually successful, well, really everything flows from that. You'll be socially successful. If you're socially successful, you'll be financially successful. Okay, it all kind of flows from this sort of thing. And so if the key in our society is just looking good, well, then everybody should devote all their resources to grooming themselves. Everybody should devote their time, energy, and resources to vanity, grooming themselves, this sort of thing. And Clavicular's taken that to the logical conclusion, the logical extreme, and now the world is his oyster. And it's sort of funny how now people are looking at this and they're sort of laughing at it and people are sort of deeply concerned about it. You know what's interesting, though? Nobody was concerned about it 10 years ago. When the lookism ideology came on the scene, it existed in internet subcultures of sexually unsuccessful losers. It was incels. It was ugly men. It was the uglier races. It was broke losers, bald men, fat men, retards, autists on forums reporting their experiences and saying, like, this is the new law of the jungle. This is the way of the world. In other words, when women were in control of this arrangement, when women were brutal, turning men down, rejecting men, doing all this kind of stuff, it was a big joke, right? If you were on the forums talking about how looks are the only thing that matter and we should invest in grooming and people were trying game, pickup artistry, that sort of thing, well, they were a laughingstock. They were losers. That was for idiots. That was for people that aren't normal. And yet, it was still a very brutal situation where women were extracting resources, women were going for the 10%. They were engaging in hypergamous behavior. 10 years later, now it's sort of like men are catching up in a way. It's like Clav is the revenge of the men. Okay, we want to play the lookism game. Well, what if we use peptides and steroids and injections and all these things to become that top 10%? And now Clav is disrespectful. He's a whoremonger. Now he is a brutal and severe person. Now you see women being called ugly to their faces, being called fat, being called a whatever. And I guess what I would say about it, like I said, the tension is I'm sort of rooting for him. You'd like to see women now on the receiving end. You'd like to see the tables turned where women are getting bitched and smacked around. They acted like whores. They acted like superficial and dismissive and all of that. Now they're on the receiving end of it. You're sort of rooting for it. It feels justified. On the other hand, you say this is an arms race where nobody wins. This is a race to the bottom where actually nobody wins. And what we really get is a loveless society that is completely vain, completely superficial, based in contempt. And I would say that even if our conception of sex and love and romance in the old days was a pretense or an elaborate ritual, or you could even say people were naive for believing in it, it's preferential to have that pretension than to have this brutal, raw, naked display of, what you're seeing in these live streams, which is that it's all just about these genetic signals, physical signals. It's all just about, your jaw. It's all just about height. It's all just about ratios, things like that. And I'm not knocking him. I'm just thinking about, I think the reason it is such an object of curiosity right now is because I think people feel very deeply about what they're seeing. I think it's affecting how people think. When people see these live streams, it's making us think about ourselves. It's affecting the story we tell ourselves about ourselves. In other words, when you see somebody that is kind of embodying vanity and shallowness, just sort of going all the way and embracing it, being so successful, I think everybody's looking at themselves and saying, should I be doing this? People are ordering peptides. People want to look smacks. People want to drop 10 pounds, get a leaner face. And I think that's why it is such a sensation, because it's very evocative and very personal. And anyway, so those are just some thoughts about what I saw this weekend. Very slow news day, so I'm being a little bit self-indulgent, but I saw that on Saturday and I'm like, wow, like that is my ideology. The Valentine's Day cuckening is just like hard to believe it's even real. But anyway, I do want to move on. I want to talk a little bit about this government shutdown. And I know you don't want to hear about it. I know the Rumble boomers hate it. All the comments and whenever I talk about this at the beginning of the show, the Rumble boomers totally revolt. And they say, that guy's on meth. That guy's on drugs. Why are you talking about this guy? I think it's very thought-provoking, to tell you the truth. People don't want to hear about it, but this is legitimately the next stage and kind of the fulfillment of lookism discourse. This is a major discursive advancement when we look at lookism, when you look at inceldom, black pill, red pill. There is a very clear through line from Elliot Rodger and Alec Manassian and the pickup artists all the way through to Andrew Tate in 2022, all the way through to this. It's a very clear through line, and you can roll your eyes and you could call it gay and you could say whatever you want to say about it, but there's a reason that it's such a sensation. And like I said, that's because it's deeply evocative and it's very personal. You know, how people feel about themselves, how people feel, you know, compare themselves to others. This is clearly having an impact on the young people. And maybe you don't believe it if you're an older guy, you're like an old fart that's already dead. You're in the end of the male life cycle. You're married. You're in a sexless marriage. You're a loser. You might roll your eyes and say, oh, well, guys injecting peptides, that's really dumb. It's like, okay, but you know who the audience for all this stuff is? It's teenagers. The audience for all of this is young boys and girls, actually. Teenage boys and girls, college-aged boys and girls. They're all watching this little soap opera. It is affecting them. And ignore it at your own peril. Don't pay attention at your own peril. I'm telling you, sums up there. It is a phenomenon. I view it in a very similar vein that I view Donald Trump, Andrew Tate. It's easy to sort of say it's a flash in the pan. It's edgelording. Oh, that's just this. It's just that. No, I don't think so. I think this is something. But anyway, that's that. I do want to move on. We're going to get into our news. Our big story for the night is about this government shutdown. And once again, I hate to say I told you so, but this is all playing out exactly how I told you it would play out 2 years ago. So our big story, our only news story really in the past week, is that there is now a partial government shutdown. The Department of Homeland Security shut down on Friday after funding lapsed. And this is because the Democrats are refusing to appropriate any money for Homeland Security unless the White House agrees to restrict ICE. And this is a story, we'll read through it. This is from Politico. And then we'll get into a little bit of the backstory, how we got here. And the kicker is that this is just a preview. This is just a sampler. But this is the story from Politico talking a little bit about some of the details here. It says, quote, lawmakers left Washington for a week-long recess on Thursday, showing no urgency to avert a shutdown at the Department of Homeland Security that will take effect on Saturday morning. This was written on Friday. Neither Republicans nor Democrats saw an obvious path forward to resolving their differences over President Trump's immigration crackdown and whether to rein it in as part of legislation to fund DHS. Though negotiations between the White House and Senate Democrats continue, The trajectory of talks suggests DHS funding will be lapsed for at least 10 days, meaning that the soonest that any resolution would be reached is around the State of the Union address on February 24th. The lack of progress has even raised the prospect that Trump's speech to Congress might be postponed, and some Democrats are mulling a boycott. Even if a deal were struck, said one of these senators, I'm not entirely convinced that anybody would vote for it. I can't see the Democrats voting for anything because they're not going to get pounded for funding ICE, and the Republicans on my side are not going to get pounded for hurting ICE. Negotiations between Democrats and White House officials were ongoing as of Thursday evening. Democrats, who have floated a series of guardrails on immigration enforcement in exchange for funding DHS, were expected to formally respond to the latest White House offer over the weekend after Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer and House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries bashed it on Thursday without disclosing specifics on what was contained within. It will likely take weeks for the public to feel any pain from a lapse in DHS funding, meaning that each side will feel limited political pressure to give in right away. TSA screeners are not set to miss paychecks until March, and FEMA coffers are likely full enough to respond to natural disasters for the near future. After the Senate failed to pass DHS funding legislation on Thursday, lawmakers in both chambers left Washington with guidance to be ready to come back in a matter of days if Democrats in the White House were able to strike a deal, something that members did not see as a realistic possibility before the end of the week. Okay, so here's a little backstory on all this. Obviously, as you know, back in January, these mass deportations basically hit the iceberg, and it's now over. Trump sent ICE and Border Patrol to Minneapolis, where mass deportations have now died. In response to the investigation of Somalian fraud in Minneapolis, thousands of ICE and Border Patrol were deployed to investigate this, but also to increase the amount of removals happening there. They encountered pitched resistance from local radical left-wing groups, socialists, communists, progressives, brown people of various stripes, and this led to the death of 2 protesters. First Renee Good, then Alex Preddy. Now, we talked a little bit in January and in February about some of the fallout in the media and in the White House. The media, as predicted, have taken all of it and they have aired it wall-to-wall, 24/7 coverage about the family separation, about the brutality of ICE tactics, about how it's anti-democratic. They're playing up the deaths of the protesters, and they're pressuring the administration to shut down these efforts. We talked about how the administration has responded to the pressure with a total capitulation. As we discussed last week, ICE has officially concluded their Midway Blitz operation, or whatever it was called. Their surge of ICE and Border Patrol has officially concluded as of last week. They withdrew the remaining 3,000 ICE and Border Patrol agents, and effectively now mass deportations are over. But this is the angle that we didn't talk about. And it's very important to understand the different organs of the elites and how they all work and how they all work together and the dynamics. It's really important to understand the anatomy of power and the anatomy of how things work. So like I said, we know the role that the left-wing activists connected to the Democrat machines will play. If you try to enforce immigration law, they will react viciously. So the Democrat city machines, Jacob Fry, Tim Walz, Minneapolis mayor, Minnesota governor, they are going to embolden the agitators. They are going to put out the word that they want resistance. And the local left-wing groups answer the call. Unions, student groups, shitheads, agitators, they all show up in droves at the public protests on the weekends, but also at the riots at night. And they're in the Signal group chats coordinating the interference play against actual ICE enforcement. So that's the role that the big city machine plays, the local shock troops, the agitators. Then you've got the media and Hollywood. They play their part. They shine a light on all this. They show half of the story. They frame it in such a way where it looks like Alex Preddy is some veteran nurse. And they literally, AI look-smacks the photo so that he looks like a Chad. And they show Renee Good like she's some kind of humanitarian. She's a poet. She just wanted to write her poems for her lesbian wife and her son. And then at the Oscars and at the Grammys, I guess it's the Grammys, you get the speeches from Billie Eilish and from Bad Bunny. Hey, f*** ICE and all this kind of stuff. They put the spotlight on it. And what does this do? Well, it puts the pressure on the Republican conference, the RNC. RNC has to win this midterm election. They need to shore up all 218 Republican seats. They need money. Who are they going to get money from? The Chamber of Commerce. Chamber of Commerce is getting pressure from the shitheads because they're protesting at Target in front of the Marriott, the Hilton. Okay, so this is the anatomy of how it works. These are the dynamics. Now, here's the angle that we haven't talked about, and this is the role that Congress plays. This is the role that the legislative branch plays. So, as I said, we talk about how this is playing out. But there's another effect of the killing of Alex Preddy and Renee Good that we have not yet discussed. And this is that after both of them were killed, and it created this big public backlash and outcry, in the middle of the story, Republicans and Democrats were negotiating on a spending bill. So Republicans and Democrats are doing their normal business as legislators, passing appropriations to fund the government, approving new money for the government's operations. And they were on track to pass this minibus spending bill. $1.7 trillion spending bill. It funds a half dozen departments and agencies, routine business. And they had a bill that they agreed upon. And it was going to pass. Republicans and Democrats were going to pass it in the House and in the Senate. And it was going to be, again, just routine business as usual. Well, after the killing of Alex Preddy and Renee Good, and all this attention and all the backlash, how does this affect the legislation? Well, one of the departments that is funded by the bill is Homeland Security. And for those that don't know, ICE and Border Patrol are agencies that are subsidiary to Homeland Security. So what is happening here? Well, in a word, Democrats have gained political capital. They've gained political capital. Because the Trump administration has become deeply unpopular, because there is this moment, Democrats are having a moment where there is public backlash against ICE. There is negative attention on ICE. It's hurting Trump's job approval. It's hurting his immigration approval numbers. This gives the Democrats initiative. It gives them political capital to draw upon. And so they can now go to Republicans at the negotiating table and say, hey, although we agreed on this funding bill, now we're reneging on our commitment because we don't want to fund Homeland Security. We're not going to fund Homeland Security unless you give us something in return. And what are they asking for? Democrats are asking for 10 points to restrain ICE. This is in response to the Democrats' voters and the most militant and energetic and radical members of the Democrat group. The Democrats are going to the Republicans and saying, we're not going to fund Homeland Security unless ICE takes off their masks. And what does that do? If ICE can't wear a mask, then that means they're going to get doxxed. If they're going to get doxxed, then their families are going to get threatened. And if their families are going to get threatened, then they're going to quit. Or they're not going to be able to participate in patrols, in raids. They're not going to be able to do their job. It's designed with this in mind. Number two, they all got to wear body cameras. What happens when you put a body camera on an ICE agent? They can't do the patrols. Because anything that they might say or do that could look bad, they know their head is going to be on a pike in the court of public opinion. If they go up to somebody who is obviously illegal, or they know they're illegal, and they initiate some kind of, I don't know what you would call that technically speaking, but they try to apprehend somebody. If they say the wrong thing, do the wrong thing, oh, it's going to be on TV. And I'm going to be the next Derek Chauvin. I'm going to be the guy that shot Alex Preddy. So they're going to not do their job. It's designed with this in mind. One of the other points, they want a judge to have to give a warrant for ICE to make an arrest. So go figure. We have 30, 40 million illegal aliens living in the country. You already got to detain them. You got to go out there and get them, arrest them, lock them up. Then you got to put them in a warehouse. You got to detain them in a facility for an indefinite amount of time. Then you got to go to court. They got to have their day in court. We got to adjudicate, give them an order of removal. Then we got to kick them out. It's this whole ordeal. Now everybody needs a warrant. Now we got to get 30 million warrants. It's going to slow it down. Again, you're not going to be able to do patrols. So what are the Democrats doing? They're shutting down mass deportations with process. Under the pretext of accountability and transparency, they're against brutality and all that sort of stuff, which sounds good on paper. What they're really doing is denying. What they're really doing is they're tying the hands of law enforcement and ICE so that it becomes impossible to do their job. And then they cannot deport the illegals can stay, and they're effectively given an amnesty. And that's the point. That's what they're doing. That's why they're doing it. And so this is how all of this works. Trump goes into Minneapolis to catch the fraud. Well, the Democrats respond like antibodies in the bloodstream. They respond like white blood cells. And so the shitheads come out and the Democrat machine condemns it, and they say ICE needs to leave. Hollywood trains the camera on it like a loaded gun. The media, Hollywood, on social media, all the attention goes behind this. They get the Republicans nervous. They put the pressure on the donors, on the businesses. If that's not enough, then in Congress, the Democrats come forward and say, well, now we're not going to agree to fund Homeland Security unless you shut down ICE. Now, here's the thing about this shutdown. So Democrats are making this demand, and you might be saying to yourself, well, how can they make any demands? They're in the minority. And it's shocking, isn't it? Democrats are in the minority in the House, and they are a minority in the Senate. So how can they shut down the government? How do they have any leverage? How can they make demands? Well, for those that don't know, this is basic stuff, but I'll just inform you. In the Senate, basically every major piece of legislation, every confirmation of a presidential nominee has to clear a 60-vote threshold, a supermajority, a 3/5 threshold, as opposed to a simple majority. 100 seats in the Senate, simple majority is 51, or 50 plus the tiebreaker, which is Vance. Vice president is the president of the Senate and acts as a tiebreaker in the event of a tie. But to pass major legislation, you need 3/5, you need 60. It's a procedural thing. If you don't have 60 votes, theoretically somebody could filibuster and they could indefinitely extend debate on every motion, on every matter, and it requires 60 votes to close debate, to invoke cloture and go to voting. And this is really arbitrary. This is not in the Constitution. It's not written in stone. This is parliamentary procedure. And it is effectively there to hamstring the government. It is there to slow down government and prevent the Senate from doing anything. Now, you might have heard the phrase nuclear option. This is the idea that the ruling party will eliminate the filibuster, and they will vote to say that we're not going to abide by this anymore. We're just going to pass legislation with this simple majority. We control the Senate. We're going to pass a legislation. You don't get to shut down the whole government when you don't even have the majority because you have a handful of votes. This is where we are. Now, the reason this matters is so that you understand this particular government shutdown may not do anything. The Democrats shut down the government in the fall for 45 days, longest government shutdown in history. In the end, they didn't even get anything. They said they wanted these Obamacare tax credits. They didn't even get them. They came up with a number of other demands. They didn't get anything. They shut down the government in the fall just so that they could tell their Democrat voters that they resisted Trump. Just so that they could say, well, we didn't go with Trump. We put up a fight. It's kayfabe. It's fake. They're doing it just to do it. On some level, they're slowing down the administration. It's having some impact, but really it's more for them to go to their base and say that they did something. And that's exactly what this is too. They're going to the White House and they're telling them, we're not going to fund Homeland Security until you shut down ICE. It's not going to happen. The White House is not going to agree to shut down ICE. They're not going to agree to a lot of these things. They might agree to some of it. And there are some reports that the White House has agreed to body cams. They've agreed to rules of engagement. There's some compromise, which is not good. But the government will reopen. They're not going to totally shut down ICE. Why does all of this matter? It is to get you to understand where all of this is going. Where does all of this point towards? All of this points towards the inevitable conclusion that when we arrive at the midterms in 9 short months, okay, that came up real fast, didn't it? One day you're celebrating the golden age, you're Elon Musk, Roman saluting, this victory really mattered, my heart goes out to you. The next day, it's 9 months until the midterms. Republicans will lose the midterms. What does that mean? They will lose the House. Democrats will have a majority in the House. What does that look like? Well, Democrats most likely will win the House in November. Republicans still have until January. In January 2027, the Democrat majority will be seated. Now, what powers do they gain? Well, they don't just have a majority in one chamber. Some things you need to understand about the House. Constitutionally, the House has the power of the purse strings, which means that all spending bills, all revenue bills have to originate in the House. So Democrats control all appropriations. See where this is going? You want to fund the government in 2027? You got to deal with Hakeem Jeffries. You want to fund your government? You want to fund your anything, your Department of War? You want to fund your literally anything? You don't want to be in a permanent shutdown? You got to go through the Democrats. And the Democrats are going to have some demands about ICE, about tariffs, about everything. That's one. 2, Democrats have oversight powers. They have investigative powers. They can subpoena. They can depose. They can compel the release of documents. They can impeach. This is a preview of what the rest of the presidency will look like. In 2027, in 2028, when you have a Democrat-controlled House, these symbolic government shutdowns, these become real impasses. These become real hostage situations where you're not going to be able to pass anything. Forget about passing landmark legislation. Forget about major legislation. You can't even fund your government. You can't even keep the government going. Try doing the largest deportation operation in history when everybody is being impeached and everybody has to talk to lawyers and talk about documents and deal with subpoenas. Just try the time and energy to do all that. Try to implement mass deportations when the Democrats are depriving your government of money. How are you going to do mass deportations without any money? How are you going to do mass deportations if we're going to deny you appropriations for some other thing? Like the Department of War or like the Development Finance Corporation or some other thing. Your nomination of the Federal Reserve Chairman, which will probably be resolved before then, but these are the kinds of things that become relevant. This is the predicament that we find ourselves in. And this is what I told you would happen in 2024. How did we arrive here? I will tell you very clearly how we got to this point. We should have been vigilant. You should have been vigilant in 2024, whether Trump and his team showed signs that they had the political will to do the job, because that is really what is required. It was a given that Trump was going to get into office and that he had to move very quickly and very decisively. That was the only way this was ever going to work, if it was going to work. What I mean by this is all of these aspirations, if you wanted to cut $2 trillion, if you wanted Doge, if you wanted a unified executive, a unitary executive, if you wanted the tariff man, if you wanted mass deportations, if any of that was ever going to happen in this second term, the only way it would have happened is if you moved very quickly, very decisively from the very beginning. Because you were only ever going to have about 18 months at the most. You were only ever going to have 18 months before all these policies, which are extremely disruptive, would have provoked a response from the left in the form of media pressure, resistance from the state and local governments, federal judge injunctions, media pressure, and ultimately, the ultimate bound is the midterms. You can be unpopular, you can be brutal, you can be decisive, you can go all the way, but you got to do it quickly and you got to do it fast because you only have 18 months before the enemy catches up. They launch a counterattack, you lose the midterms, and then they do this to you. And whether we did it successfully or unsuccessfully, this is how it was going to play out. What I mean by that is, so far, Trump has been incompetent. We have not gotten mass deportations. The tariffs have been a pittance, and they're going to be overturned. We haven't solved any of the wars. We haven't fired 50,000 government employees. They failed. Doge didn't cut any waste, fraud, or abuse. They objectively failed through incompetence, and they're still unpopular. They're still unpopular. They're still cruising to be destroyed in the midterms and deprived of any power anyway. So think about it. The alternative is that we didn't care what the they thought about us. You could have been deporting 5,000 people per day. You could have been implementing martial law. You could have suspended habeas corpus, martial law, insurrection act, arrest the governors and the mayors. You could have arrested Hollywood, Obama. You could have literally dropped an iron fist on this country like a straight up scary dictatorship. Tariffs, arrests, deportations, you could have done it all. And the result would have been exactly the same. The worst case scenario is that the media would hate it, the left would be violent and rioting, the Republicans would be unpopular, you'd lose Joe Rogan, and then you'd lose the midterms and they'd reverse it. It's gonna happen anyway. You see? But here is how you knew it would play out this way. The Republicans never had the political will. And by that, I mean they were afraid of the media from the jump. They weren't willing to go all the way from the jump. They had no control over Republicans in Congress. They were afraid of them. They were asking permission. They moved too slowly. They were incompetent. They used the wrong laws. I mean, think about some of the stuff they did with Doge. Such a ham-fisted disaster that was. You could have went in and cut everything and fired everybody as long as you did it quickly and decisively and legally and you stuck to your guns. You could have done it. You could have eviscerated everything. You could have done tariffs. But look at the shoddy job they did on Liberation Day last year. They threw together this tariff schedule. We saw how they calculated them. It was ridiculous. And they got overturned in 2 weeks because it was such a sloppy job. We knew from the jump that this is how it was going to go. So I told you in 2024, I told you in 2025, I said, we don't have 4 years. You got 2 if you're lucky. You got less than 2. You have 12 months, maybe 18 months at the most. I said you got that first year, year and a half, 2 years before the midterms to get everything you want. That's your runway. You got to hit the ground running. And if you can get some momentum, if you have the initiative, then maybe by the midterms, you're cooking with gas. Maybe you've achieved something. Maybe you've done something irreversible. But if you don't get it going by then, it gets worse and not better. And it gets worse and not better because after the midterms, the Democrats have reconstituted. They are fortified and consolidated, and they're going to put up meaningful resistance, and they do it by delaying and denying. They don't have to win the argument. They don't have to win the debate. You are on offense. They are on defense. The left is hegemonic. They control the permanent bureaucracy. They control the media, Hollywood. They still ostensibly control like everything. We are on offense. We have to score. We have to be scoring all the time. If we don't, we are losing. If we don't, we are always losing ground if we're not advancing. And that's exactly what happened here. If the Democrats can simply buy time by slowing things down procedurally or otherwise, if they could just slow things down, postpone things, if they could get you to backpedal, dilute the message, weaken, that is how they win, just by denial. And in 2 years, this is going to be the most unpopular administration in history. It's going to be a repeat of 2020. That's what we're looking at here. Think about where Trump is. Lowest approval rating of any modern president. Trump's approval is lower at this point in his presidency, lower than Biden at this point, lower than Trump won at this point. Lowest that it's been in the second term. I guess that goes without saying. He's completely underwater with the under 40 crowd. And it's only gonna get worse, especially because Trump is not delivering on these things. No mass deportations, economy's not getting better, housing prices have literally never been more unaffordable. The wars are escalating actually, as opposed to getting better. And now we seriously have to contend with the possibility that in 2028, we get Democrats on steroids. We get Democrats with a vengeance. You do understand that if a Democrat won in 2024, they would be on the back foot. If a Democrat won in 24 and they picked up where Biden left off, they would be really in a tough spot. They would not be aggressive. They could not be aggressive because they would have no mandate and no legitimacy and nobody would support them. So you would have gotten a very soft, weak, flaccid, incompetent Democrat administration, and you would have had like a revolution in 28 for a fascist, for a Nazi. Instead, Trump has been elected and he has failed at everything except for antagonizing our enemies. The only thing that he has succeeded at doing is provoking our enemies just enough that now they want to kill us. And now they're going to have enough juice to do it. They're going to have enough political mandate to do it, political capital. Trump has not succeeded in Doge, has not Schedule F'd 50,000 employees, has not ended all the wars, has not massively deported anybody. He doesn't even want to build the wall anymore. They haven't started building the wall. They don't even want to build the wall anymore. That stuff just isn't even happening. The one thing he succeeded in doing is royally pissing off our enemies that actually are willing to and know how to use government power. By going after James Comey and going after all these people and destroying the East Wing, pissing on their face and shitting down their throats and humiliating them, all he has done is guaranteed that the pendulum is going to swing so hard back to the left, it's going to kill all of us. Even the people that didn't vote for him, even the people that don't support him. Because whatever Mamdani socialist is going to be propelled into the White House in 2028, they're going to be anti-white, they're going to be communist, okay? They're not going to be based noticers. It's going to be bad, okay? It's going to be bad in 28. It's going to be bad in 26. I told you this would happen. So, like I said, this is a preview. DHS is partially shut down, or rather, the government's partially shut down. DHS is shut down. Democrats are now using the 47 seats they have in the Senate to make us cuck ICE, which it's like, why not at this point? We already told them they can't deport anybody. How long did that take? February 2026, and here lies the dreams and ambitions of the second Trump administration. I thought we were supposed to be in the Creed concert by now. Where's my Creed concert? Where's my Code Red Mountain Dew? Where are my charter cities? Remember when they said that? We're going to build freedom cities. We're going to take federal land and build new cities on the blockchain. Remember that? Remember when Trump was releasing new policies every day? By 2026, everyone's going to be drinking raw milk and we'll have state-funded goth girlfriends and there's going to be freedom cities with no blacks allowed and the wall will be 30. Yeah, not happening. It's 2026 and there's no mass deportations. I could tell you things that would make you want to kill yourself, but I can't. I know people in the administration, and if you know, you know. Like, the mass deportations are over. The wall is over. It's all over. And it's not going to get better. Okay, like I said, how do you start arresting 3 times as many people after all of this, after the Democrats shut down the government and make ICE wear body cams, after we retreat from Minneapolis and fire Bovino? So it's not going to happen from now until the midterms. Is it going to happen after the midterms when Democrats control the purse strings? How would that even work? Of course, it doesn't even make any sense. So those 230,000 removals from 2025, that's as good as it's going to get. That is as good as it's going to get. And you just buckle up and wait for them to try to foist J.D. Vance. If there's anything, hey, don't black pill. If there's anything good that can come out of this, it is that J.D. Vance cannot be the president in 2028. Why would he be? Why should he be? If this administration is crashing and burning over Epstein, over Iran, over the failure to deliver deportations, well, guess who is number 2? J.D. Vance. So for all these people that are going to tell us, well, we got to elect him. He's the real deal. If he were the real deal, he'd be doing something now. You're the vice president of the United States. You want to have a shot in 28? For your sake, for the sake of the GOP? Where the fuck are you? You got 3 million Epstein files that haven't been released, 3 million that are still redacted. You got no deportations. They just told Border Patrol, don't raid job sites with more than a few dozen employees. Where are you? You want Republicans to vote in the midterms? You want Republicans to vote for you in 2028? Hey, man, walk down the hall to the Oval and pound on the door and say, you're killing all of us. Trump is killing you. He's killing the GOP. He's killing all of us. We're all being dragged to hell by this administration, whether we support it or not. Republicans will be blamed. Vance will be blamed. I don't even support him. He shouldn't. If he can't get it done, he shouldn't even be considered in 28. But when a Democrat wins, we are all going to pay the price for this incompetence. And that is how I told you it would be during the election. People said I was crazy. People said I was a Democrat plant. They said I was black pilling. I'm not black pilling. This is a clear pill. This is reality. I told you in 24, this is precisely how it would play out. And that's because that's how it played out in the first term. Exactly. To a letter. This is how it played out in the first term. So predictable. And people said it would be different. I mean, they actually thought it would be different. I don't know why they thought that, but they did. And they sold you on a lie. And now we are all in this together, you know? So that's your government shutdown. I mean, who really cares? They want to make the State of the Union a spectacle. Maybe they'll delay the State of the Union. They want to make their demands, show the base they're fighting for them. The Democrats do. This partial shutdown means nothing. But look, you only have 130 more days in this legislative session. Most of them between now and June. They come back for a little bit in the fall, but only for about 20, 25 days, I think. So this legislative session ends in June. This is going to shut down the government until what, March? So think about it. You're not going to get anything. No reconciliation package. You're not going to get any landmark legislation. It's so bad you just can't even make it up. Like, this is going to be an administration with no landmark legislation, no major bills, Nothing. You got your big, beautiful bill, which is a monstrosity. They're not even going for budget reconciliation this year. Trump says we don't need it. Okay, I guess. They're not even going to try. They're going to shut down the government for another 2 weeks. Then you got 3 months left, and then you're done. Then it's cooked. Like I said, then it's impeachments, subpoenas, depositions, investigations. Trump might even be removed from office. When all is said and done, he might even be pulled by his own people. That there is a non-zero chance. As a matter of fact, there's a good chance that's going to happen. Fell for it again. Serves you right. You trusted the Jews. That's what this is. Trump was the Jewish candidate, obviously. And people said that didn't matter because they're based Jews like Stephen Miller. He was the Jewish candidate. He was going to give them the West Bank, Gaza, Iran, Syria on a silver platter. And this is what you get. This is what you deserve. It serves you right. You trusted the Jews. You trusted this Jewish puppet. Now this is what you get. You get riots in Minneapolis again. You get illegal immigrants with an amnesty again. You get another war in the Middle East all over again. I mean, if only someone had said something, if only someone staked their entire career telling you, if you elect Trump, it's going to be a train wreck. It's going to be a disaster. Well, now here we are. So it's going to be rough, but that's that. We're going to move on. We'll take a look at our super chats. We'll see what you guys have to say about all this. Not good, guys. Where's the counter argument? Where's the enthusiasm? Where's the plan trusters? Hey, plan trusters, just checking in. Are you winning? Where's the plan trusters? Hey, plan trusters, just checking in. Are you winning? Are the plan trusters winning right now? How are we doing over there? And like I said, the next move is they're going to try to get us all to vote for J.D. Vance. That's the next chapter. Have you had your fill of this? Well, just get ready. They're going to try to make you do it all over again with Vance. Anyone that's against Vance is going to get utterly annihilated, me included. They're already doing it. They're destroying anybody that's against Vance so that this fat piece of shit can lose. It's just, well, people get what they have coming, you know. People get what they deserve. No one's paying attention. Nobody cares. Nobody cares about the truth. So now you get this. Now you get the little tech that you deserve. You get the J.D. Vance that you deserve. People, if you're stupid enough to buy into J.D. Vance, hey man, lots of luck. You're stupid enough to buy into this artifice they're foisting upon us, this Jew-controlled artifice, hey man, lots of luck. I'm really becoming like hands-off. I had a conversation recently with Keith Woods, and I'm like, Keith, what are we going to do? I'm like, we're losing the narrative. These low IQ anti-Semites are being captured by the left and by Muslims. They're like against ICE now. I'm like, what are we going to do? Like this, and Keith is like, what do you mean? What are we going to do? He's like, it's just happening. And I was like, you know, that's so true. Like, why do I feel like I'm in an A24 movie. What's that film studio? I feel like I'm in an A24 movie constantly. Hearts pounding, cortisol spiking, gesture maxing about politics. We need to work in the midterms. We need to prevent. And it's like, why? Why? Here's the information. Okay, look, here's the truth. Here's what's going on. Here's the predictions. My record is untouchable. The information's out there. Take it. It's yours. You don't believe me? People go, well, you're the Fed. You're the fake whatever. Okay, whatever. Kind of taking like a more hands-off approach. So that was kind of, that was a bit of an epiphany. You know? He goes, what do you mean, what are we going to do? He goes, that's just how things are going. So we have two different personalities. He's very like, hey man, just let life wash over you. Me, he's kind of like the Joker in that way, you know, where he's like, all these rules, you know, he's like, and me, I'm trying to make it happen. I'm over here trying to fight the battle and, you know, cortisol spiking, trying to get people to believe the right things. Now I'm kind of like, you know what? I warned you people. What are you people going to do for me, huh? I warned you people. I told you this is what was going to happen, and you all hated me for it. 2 years ago, you hated me for telling you this. Am I wrong? I was there. I remember. I was doing my show every night, trashing Trump and saying, don't vote, don't vote. This is a Jewish nightmare. Look at who's behind him. Follow the money. And you idiots said that I was a Democrat plant. You said that I was in the FBI. All this crap. I have terrible instincts, blah, blah, blah. All this kind of stuff. Oh, now I'm obviously vindicated. Everything that I was saying 2 years ago, now everybody's saying, and they still think they're smarter than me. And it's like, you know what? You keep it. You keep your country. I warned you. I did my job. I did my job. I warned you. I told you this is what was going to happen. I didn't vote for this shit. So my message in 26, you could take it or leave it. Don't vote. Don't vote. Do not vote in the midterms. The Republicans have to lose. They have to lose. They have to crash and burn. A cleansing fire is the only thing that will save us. It cannot be fixed. Fuck them. Fuck Trump. Fuck MAGA. Fuck all this stuff. It can't be fixed. If it could have been fixed, it would have been fixed in 2025, but it wasn't. They made every mistake. Liberation Day, disaster. Doge, disaster. Big Beautiful Bill, disaster. Epstein files, disaster. Iran, disaster. The personnel, Mike Waltz, disaster. Ratcliffe, disaster. Rubio, disaster. Pam Bondi, disaster. All self-inflicted. Trump personnel, Trump policy, Trump strategy, Trump playbook. We tried it your way. It didn't work. F you. Now we don't vote. That's the message. Seriously. Can't blame anybody else. Bad advice, bad advisors, Biden's economy. Enough already. It didn't work. We're not voting. I'm staying home, and you know what? I hope the Democrats impeach him. I hope the Democrats impeach all of them. I hope they indict everybody. I hope they depose and compel the release of documents, and I hope they find all the criminal behavior, and I hope it destroys the GOP. I hope it creates a crisis for the GOP so severe that they never recover. And then I hope we get a fucking to run in 28. And I mean that metaphorically. I don't mean that literally. I hope we get a fascist to run in 28 to burn the GOP down as a dark horse and win the presidency as a right-wing radical. That is my hope. That is my playbook. That's what I want. I don't trust them anymore. They say, we just got to vote for Vance. No, shut up. I'm not listening to you. The same people that brought you this garbage now want to sell you Vance. I'm not listening. You people told me that Trump was going to deliver a golden age and mass deportations and $2 trillion in cuts and charter cities and all this crap. You lied. It didn't happen. Now you're selling us on Vance? I don't think so. I'm not even listening anymore. I'm not voting. And they could say whatever they want. Say whatever you want. Try and squirm and struggle and flail around. I am not listening anymore. I am not voting. I am not reasonable anymore. We all played that for the last how many cycles? Were we the reasonable ones? Hold your nose and vote. Lesser of two evils. We can't let the Democrats win. Okay, well, we let the Republicans win. Look at what that has profited us. I know it's profited Israel. I know it's profited Silicon Valley and Wall Street and the rich. What good is that doing us? What good is that doing any of us that live in cities like Chicago or New York or LA or even the red states for that matter. It's not doing us any good. Ken Griffin, Trump's boy, is down there in Miami, back in the Democrat mayor over there. I'm out. You lost me. I voted for Trump in 2016 because Trump was an outsider, because Trump was a disruptor. Trump was going to destroy the establishments of both parties. That's not what he is anymore. And that's not what Vance is either, by a long shot. We need something else. I don't care where it comes from. I don't care who it is. All options are on the table other than voting for the GOP. The definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different result. Is that not what we have been doing? Republican in 16, 18, 20, 22, 24, 26. At what point do you say, let's try something else? We tried it that way. And I've had them come to me. I've had certain people come to me and they say, you know, we can't burn the party down. That's not a good idea. That's good. It's going to take us forever to rebuild. You're not being reasonable. It's like, you figure it out. It's your job. I've been the nigger of this party for the past 10 years. You won't even let me in the front door. You won't let me in the back door. I have been the nigger of the party for the past 10 years. People got nothing nice to say about me. I'm not invited to anything. I'm not allowed anywhere. All I get is condemned and disavowed, qualified praise. Well, he's a complete horrible human being, but he could talk real good. And now they want to negotiate with me. Now they want to say, you got to get everybody on board. I won't do it. Miss me with that. And I am like all of you in the sense that I am just another expendable young white man that they don't give a fuck about. They treat me like they would treat you. I am just another, you know, I'm a precocious eccentric, but I am just another young white man from a suburb like LaGrange Park in Chicago. My vote doesn't matter. I'm in a blue state. My parents aren't from DC. They didn't go to William and Mary. They didn't go to Harvard. You know, so we don't matter. We don't matter. Our sensibilities, our prospects for having a wife and kids, with the social climate, owning a home, with the economic climate, the job market, you know, none of that actually matters to them. They don't care. If you say the wrong things, make the wrong jokes, have the wrong politics, they will destroy you with no compunction. We are expendable. Our job is to shut the fuck up, pay the taxes, obey the laws, vote while we get raped by the people that purport to represent us. And I'm not playing that game because that's really what it is. It's the white men that are the backbone of this society. If we acted like the black people, there'd be no society. If white people acted like the black people, there'd be no society. There'd be no tax money. There'd be no budget. Forget that. White people acted like blacks. White people acted like Hispanics. We acted like these new Americans that are coming in over the border. There'd be no budget. There'd be no military. You wouldn't have an army. You wouldn't have an economy. You wouldn't have a stock market. We acted like them for 2 seconds. There'd be no country. So that's why our job is to shut up, do the work, pay the taxes, obey the laws while everybody else is a free-for-all. Well, we are systematically raped and dispossessed, and we vote for the privilege because we're gaslit by these minstrel shows, by these white minstrel shows, to get us to turn out and vote for this policy. You get Jack Posobiec and the Blaze and all this other nonsense. Hey, everybody, vote Republican. It's going to be based and red-pilled. No, I'll wait for the collapse. Yeah, you know, at this point, I think I am an accelerationist, actually. I kind of just am. I don't love the label. I don't know if I'm ready to fully embrace it. But yeah, I'm kind of like, at this point, I have more confidence in everything falling apart than in Republicans helping us. In any way, doing anything. And if they don't like that, well, that's a them problem. They can change my mind. You want to change my mind? Fix it. You want to change my mind? I don't know. Deport some illegals. Do something. Until then, I'm done. So anyway, we're moving on. We're going to take a look at our super chats. Excuse me. We'll see what you guys have to say about this. That's where I'm at. I hope you can. I think you do relate. I hope you can relate. I think you do. All right, let's take a look. Let me get set up here. What do you think of my, this is a new suit. What do you think? I think I might need to get it tailored. I think I might need to get it brought in a little bit here, right? It's off the rack. I had to get it quickly. I had to get it quickly for the show. I like the color. I like the lapel. All right, anyway. All right. Someone said too shiny? Is it shiny? I think it just looks that way. Trust me, it isn't. All right, let's take a look. Let's see what we got here.
All right, let's get right to it. Nick started off the show talking about the hypergamous nature of women and the dynamics of men and women in relationships, why we're not having kids, why we're not getting in relationships. There's a whole bunch of different factors. Nick is talking primarily about with Clavicular. He gave the example of the young lady that decided to leave her boyfriend, her date, to go with Clavicular. Now, there's a lot of things going on here. A lot of things going on here. Yes, women are always going to have a hypergamous nature. It should be based on, I would think, based on who's able to protect and provide the type of lifestyle. Now, protection comes first and foremost, but living in this society where protection may not be at the top of the list because we're not living maybe 200, 300, 1,000 years ago when you needed a man in a different way for protection. So people rely more on provision. What can this man provide to me? So when we look at Clavicular situation with him bagging this girl, a lot of people may say, oh, she's a whore, she's this, she's that. Her boyfriend is a sucker. Her boyfriend is a sucker. And that's the same type of guy that runs around here, probably is with the whole feminist movement, is an emasculated man running around here standing up for women and just fighting for everything, that never had a true man lead at home. Because first off, if a chick is with you at a bar and you got to even consider in your mind begging another guy not to take your chick, bro, you deserve to have your girl taken from you if you move like that. There should be no hesitation. That's how she moves. Half of the battle when it comes to this relationship is understanding exactly who we're dealing with. Once that guy understood who he was dealing with, why would he even bother? Why would he even bother? The way he acting, he should have just jumped in the whip with her and just said, yo, you can have her. What's good for the night? Let's build, let's network. If that's really what you want. Begging another man not to take your chick, that's wild work. And that is a perfect example of how emasculated men have gotten. I guarantee you that his dad either wasn't in his life or his dad was one of these happy wife, happy life types. Happy wife, happy. I'm just here to please women, just here to please women. Yeah, I agree with the feminist movement. Yeah, women can have everything. It's the same man that compromises their principles when it comes to all these woke ideologies. That's why we got people running around here that can't say what a woman is. Talking about men can get pregnant. All of these different things come down to weak male leadership. Women are going to behave how we as the leaders allow them to. It is what it is. Because when shit hits the fan, that's all we got to go on. It's all fine and dandy when things are moving fine and everything. But when somebody approaches us where we're in a dangerous situation, yeah, there's no, do what I'm telling you so I can protect you. But see, we don't have that type of leadership, and there should always be a balance. I'm not saying that you have to be a dick as a leader, as a man. You're a benevolent leader. You understand the position that you're in as a man. You are created differently than women. Women have certain things that they thrive at. Men have certain things that they thrive at. And one of those things is being able to protect, provide, and to lead. And us compromising that in a lot of ways has landed us in this very same position with passive, emasculated men, just like the dude that Nick is talking about in that video with Clavicular. It's the same thing. And those type of men breed that type of woman. Because those type of women, like you get these men out here like that, like I said, they're probably happy wife, happy life growing up. Oh, I do everything for my woman, do everything for my woman. And then they're around a dickhead like Clavicular and they can't understand, like, yo, this guy's a dick. Why is he stealing my girl? I'm the nice guy. Like, I do everything for my girl, because that's not what she's looking for. Nobody wants somebody that they could just walk all over. They're looking for a leader. Just like you may go to your job or another situation where you're on a team and you have a captain that lets everybody just walk all over them. That may feel good in the moment, but ultimately when you actually get to the mindset of I'm trying to win, you don't trust that person can lead because they let everybody walk all over them. They let you walk all over them. So why would you think that they wouldn't let somebody else walk all over them? So it's one causing the other. So that woman, I don't blame her. I wish Clavicular should have just pulled down the street and then kicked her out the whip. Like, yo, why? I wouldn't deal with you. That's what he should have done, kicked her out the whip. And that's probably what's going to happen, whether it's before they go to his crib or after. That's what's going to happen. That's the society that we live in. We are living in a society right now where pacified, emasculated, punkish men, because they weren't the cool kids growing up, because they weren't the cool guys that got girls, just, you know, how it is in high school. You know, you good at sports, you know how to talk, you know how to make people laugh. You have a lot of friends, you know, you're the guy. Because they weren't that, now they grow up and they have different things that they found, oh, this can get me girls. It's like whether, oh, I become a doctor, so now I get girls. Oh yeah, I deal with them all the time. Let me not make, that's my work. So I don't even want to, it is, you know what? It is what it is. I deal with them all the time. And it's whether it's a doctor, whether it's somebody, let's say, some people get it by just appeasing women, by just raising their hand. I think women should be able to do whatever they want to do. I think women should be able to dress however they want to dress sexy. It should. Meanwhile, the real men are saying, nah, you don't need to wear that because you're attracting the wrong energy. You're going to put yourself in a dangerous situation, or you're going to put me in a dangerous situation. Now I got to respond to something. Now I'm locked up. Now you see where this is going? But instead you get these punkish men who never got girls the way that we typically get it, like out in the jungle. You know what I'm saying? Because that's what high school is, the jungle. There's no money. There's no nothing. Nah, it's just, you know, I mean, maybe some money with a car and stuff like that. But I'm going with most of these women, they going with the captain of the football team, you know, over the kid that doesn't play any sports and nobody knows who has a car. It's more so the law of the jungle, depending on what school you went to. I shouldn't say that. Depending on what school you went to. It's more of that. But as we get older, then it becomes all this other stuff. Oh, and when these men who don't know how to carry themselves, they just feel like they get a certain amount of attention from women that they never got just by agreeing with them, just being agreeable. They don't even realize, like, bro, that eventually, like, that only works to a certain extent. She's going to walk all over you. And then as soon as she finds another guy like Clavicular, who's going to put her in her place that she'll trust to actually lead, because they just act like they want to lead. They don't really want to be the lead. They don't want all the other stuff that comes with being a leadership, you know, being a leader. They don't want to get up in the middle of the night, somebody breaking in the house, and address that. They don't want to address somebody that approaches. They don't want all that comes with that. They don't want the responsibility that comes with managing certain things. They want just the boss, the CEO stuff where they can go and spend money and just not have to answer to anybody. Okay, well, not having to answer to anybody comes with its own set of problems. So when you don't have to answer to anybody, okay, so you go, when somebody's following you at home, you address that. When somebody is breaking in your house, you address that. Because you're fine, you can do bad all by yourself. And I don't want to, I think y'all see where I'm going. I don't want to beat a dead horse with all this stuff, but we have a problem with emasculated leadership. I talk to guys all the time about this type of stuff.
my age group and a lot older men who I'm like, it's like I'm sitting here like, bro, like you 50, 60 something years old. How did you not learn this? You're getting bullied. Nobody respects you. You don't respect yourself. You don't like yourself because you just wanted to be the nice guy. Oh, I just let my wife do whatever she wants. Nobody respects that. You don't respect that. And other people feed off of that. Your kids don't respect that, or they end up doing the same thing, and it puts them in a messed up position. So I don't even tend to lean on the women, because women, they do what we do. Like, she's a bird, but she's a bird because she's been allowed to be a bird. That's how I look at that type of situation. So the girl, she's a bird. Clavicular could have done her a solid, but she's going to learn her lesson one way or another, and she may not. She may go home with Clavicular, and then get kicked out, and then just move on to the next Clavicular. She may not realize until she's 40, 50 years old that everything that she's been sold by the feminist movement and women go, we don't have to have kids, you don't have to do it. And then she wakes up and realizes, damn, this is not what I want. I'm getting old by myself. Oh, this mindset that I have in my 20s and 30s, wait, that doesn't work in my 40s. That doesn't work in my 30s, because now I'm competing against the 20-year-old girls. So even though I was I'm a hot 30-year-old, well, now I want a successful guy that's in their 30s or 40s, right? And this is why a lot of women, they can't get in their 30s and 40s. They got to end up being somebody looking for a sugar daddy in their 50s, 60s who just wants maybe I'll take a hot 30-year-old on their arm. But you know what? That sugar daddy, he can go get a 20-something-year-old too. Just like somebody who's successful in their 30s. Why would they be looking at you who's been ran through by claviculars because you left the lame that you were with, who's begging clavicular not to take you? So you leave him, now you end up jumping from clavicular to clavicular. Why would I want you? In my 30s, I'll get a 20-something-year-old who's not ran through, who doesn't have the same limited mindset. Y'all see where we're going with all this? So this is the problem with society. And I used to talk about this a lot on the show. I stopped doing it because it got to the point where it's like, you start saying these things and you offend so many people, women, especially in their 20s and 30s. They're not even at the point where they can even understand what I'm saying. And then a lot of times the aunties and the moms, they not keeping it real with their daughters and telling them and explaining it to them. And even if they are explaining it to their daughters learn more from what they see their moms doing rather than what they're telling them. So it ends up vicious cycle that we're in. And ultimately, I still blame, I'm not blaming men. I'm blaming emasculated men, little m men, not capital M men. And shout out to them t-shirts that we just put out, appreciate men. There's a reason why everything's lowercase except that big M men. And that's for not only women to appreciate big M men, but that's for little m men and big M men to appreciate big M men. Because those are the leaders. Those are the ones that are going to change the world and fix this weird place that we've been living in, accepting it as woke, as normal. This is how we get to a point where we got boys playing sports against girls. Who allowed this type of stuff? This doesn't even align with any feminist movement. Here you got feminists fighting for women's rights, but you're fighting for somebody who's a man who's acting like a woman, taking your trophies, taking the opportunities away from women. That's why a lot of these woke principles and ideologies, they don't even make any sense. They align themselves with contradicting partners. How is the feminist movement aligned with it? Like, it doesn't make any sense. You're stealing opportunities from women. If anything, you're shaming the woman experience by you thinking that you could be a woman. You don't get a period. You're born with a penis. You're not a woman. So I don't understand how a lot of this works. But I'm going to speak my mind on it. All right, so we'll leave that where it is. Let's move into this temporary government shutdown. So I wasn't even aware of this, but I did travel yesterday, and I realized after getting into it with the TSA lady, because she was mean and rude, like all these TSA people, I get into it with TSA, and Maya's been telling me, you got to chill. I get into it with a lot of these TSA people because they just got attitudes. I remember, I'm not even proud of this, but because I could have gotten in trouble with it, but TSA, I'm going through, and I always approach it where it's like, okay, I'm, nice mindset. I just want to make sure that I'm, that I'm being polite, all these different things. I asked dude for a tray, and dude gives me, and he gives me an attitude because I put my bag on the whatever it's called, y'all know, the belt, right? It's going through, whatever that thing is. And it goes, and I needed something for my keys and my phone and my wallet. So he tells me, I'm like, yo, can I get one a tray? Because they didn't have any of the bins. They didn't have any bins, small or big. So I'm like, yo, can I get a bin? And he's like, yeah, what do you need a bin for? I said, what? I said, yo, give me a bin. He said, you could just put it in there. I responded and I said, I said, may I please have a bin? I said, give me a bin. Dude, because now I'm mad. Dude, like, slams it at me. Like, almost, I felt like he was throwing it at me damn near. Like, slammed it on the table, kind of. I just responded. I just threw it back at him. Like, just like, yo, what? Like, it escalated because I was so, a lot of these federal workers, yo, whether it's the post office or state, city, I don't know. Y'all know who I'm talking about. They're lazy. They think they can get away with stuff. They don't have to, they just get these jobs and there's no performance reports. Like, this is one thing that I was looking at when it came to Project 2025. Even though a lot of people were talking about it, talking bad about it, I actually read part of it. And I was going through the first part, going through how it works with the federal employees. And I'm like, yo, that's why they think that they can get away with everything. That's why you got 30-something TSA agents, but only 4 of them doing anything, actually doing work. But you got a long line backed up. Yo, why don't you, I tell them. Yo, where's the manager? Yo, why is everybody standing around here not working? You don't feel me? Aren't you the manager? Why is everybody, yo, you got a line backed up, people trying to catch flights, like people, yo. And I say this to them. And they take it however they take it. Most of the time, they're just like, oh, yeah, whatever. They don't care. And it's because that's the standard that has been set for a lot of these federal jobs. And then they wonder why people don't care when there's all these federal layoffs. A lot of people looking at y'all like y'all been getting over anyway. So I'm not obviously blanketing everybody when it comes to federal workers. I feel bad. Like, I had some family members lose their jobs over, these things, but it is what it is. I've lost my job. I've gotten cut. It is what it is. You figure it out. So I don't even know where I was going there. I just, clearly y'all saw me get triggered. These TSA agents, yo, they got stink attitudes. They're lazy. They move slow. It's like they're moving slow intentionally. Like, yo, come on. People are, trying to get to their flight, anxious, all this stress. Like, why not be a positive influence? Oh, we're going to take care of you. Hey, everybody, we're going to make sure we're moving everything quickly. Okay, let me make sure y'all know. And then the ones that are, you get it's either you get the lazy one or you get the extreme super duper officer TSA agent. Take your shoes off. I don't want to ask you twice. Have your ID out there. Y'all understand what I'm saying? This has nothing to do with even Nick is talking about. So, getting back to the point, there's a government shutdown that I was not aware of, but there was a lot of backup. But I did fly late, so I don't even know if any of that is actually the reason why things were hectic last night at the airport. But this shutdown, like I think what Nick was expressing at the end of his show when he was talking to his friend about, like, what are we gonna do? And his friend's just like, what do you mean, what are we gonna do? Like, it's just happening. Like, it just happens. That's kind of the mindset. Like, it's like I would love to have that mindset in some ways, but nah, I want to impact something. I just can't sit back and just let it all play out and feel like we're just leading ourselves to a destructive path and then just thinking that it's going to be some sort of course correction like Nick was talking about. Maybe it is better to be an accelerator rather than to just think that something's going to get fixed. Yeah, let's burn it all down. We need to restart. We need to restart. The foundation is bad of this house. So therefore, no matter what you build on top of it, it's going to have a bad foundation and it's going to be on shaky ground. So therefore, we may as well cut our losses now, start over. That's how I'm looking at it. We knew it was a bad foundation. A lot of people put faith in Donald Trump because the foundation was bad and thought like, God, he's the one person that's not going to be controlled by the swamp. He's the person that's not going to be establishment. He's the person that's not going to be bullied by Netanyahu. And what did we get? What did we get? We got the exact opposite of what a lot of people desperately, myself included, voted for Trump. Now, when it comes to the things that really bother me, the woke ideology and stuff like that, I'm glad that that stuff is over. However, because Trump has done such a terrible job, he's just done everything that Israel wants him to do, everything that the big businesses want him to do, everything that Silicon Valley with the H-1B visas bringing people over here, everything that big agriculture wanted him to do. All he's done is done the bidding of the powerful people, the rich and powerful. And he's done such a terrible job that Nick is right. Now he's given a slate for the Democrats to just do whatever they want, to go even harder than what they were doing before. Think about it. Here the Democrats had like their lowest approval rating amongst Democrats with Biden and Kamala, and then at the end of, people weren't happy how Kamala got the nominee. And now look, we don't even remember that. Now people are just so pissed off looking at Trump like, bro, what are you doing? You completely ruined the Republican Party. You put the Republican Party in a terrible place. And I know Nick doesn't like JD Vance. I don't know enough about Nick. I don't know enough about JD to say whether or not I'm a JD Vance guy. Nick does have an impressive track record based on what he's saying now. I didn't listen to Nick when he was, I guess, before last April, May, maybe March, around that time, probably about May, April. So I don't know exactly what he was saying regarding telling people not to vote for Trump. But based on when I started listening to him, it seems like he was pretty accurate in his predictions. So I don't know what's going to happen with JD Vance, but he is being put in a terrible place. And what I think ultimately is going to happen is they'll just have Marco Rubio. Marco Rubio agrees with all the neoconservative stuff. Like, that's his lane. I think JD Vance was a bit of a different lane. Like, JD's not rocking with the whole us being bullied by Israel, us going to war with Iran. He's more Charlie Kirkus when it comes to that. Like, let's put America first. Now, I don't know what else JD Vance would stand on or wouldn't stand on. And I understand that he's vice president, not president. So he may not have much power in this administration at all. But, you might as well let it be known that you're not on board with certain stuff one way or another, because Donald Trump is ruining JD Vance's entire political career. He's ruining JD Vance's entire political career. And I would expect Peter Thiel, Elon Musk to be upset. Maybe that was some of the riff that they were having, because Donald Trump, think about it. They put a lot of Peter Thiel. I don't think they just put all that money into Donald Trump just for Donald Trump to win this election. I think they were putting it in to have, Trump and then maybe 8 years of JD Vance. That was supposed to be the program. But now that that's clearly no longer the program, because what is JD Vance going to run on? We talk about this all the time. I don't even want to keep saying the things that I've said on previous shows. Y'all know it. We know it. What is he going to run on? It's going to be Marco Rubio. It's going to be Marco Rubio. And if JD Vance doesn't take certain steps to distance himself from this administration in one way or another, walk out. I don't know, say like, listen, these are not the things that I have a job to do as a vice president, but I'm not aligned with these things. I'm not aligned with these things. And maybe the best thing that JD Vance has in his, back pocket is that signal chat. What was it? The signal chat when it was clear that JD Vance wasn't on board with that first, I think it was the first Iran strike. So we're going to see how all this stuff plays out, but JD Vance is in a difficult position. The Republican Party is in a difficult position, and maybe that's a good thing. Maybe it's time to split. The neocons, y'all go that way. Y'all can have y'all retreats in Israel and do whatever y'all need to do. But then maybe some of the other Republicans, maybe some of the people that were actually the ones frontlining the war, the fight for Donald Trump to get in office, the Theo Vons, and these people may not even be Republicans, just people. I don't even want to call them Republicans or not. I don't think Joe Rogan's technically a Republican. I don't know if Theo Von's a Republican. Candace Owens, yes. Tucker Carlson, yes. But a lot of these, Dave Smith, libertarian, a lot of these people that are responsible for Trump getting in office because Barron Trump, his son said, hey, you got to tap into these podcasts. Those people are not rocking with all this neoconservative energy. Like, that's Mark Levin, that's Ben Shapiro. That's not America first. So Trump may end up moving in a way where he's responsible for bringing a lot of these people together that weren't supposed to come together. You know, you still got all Charlie Kirk's audience out there. Who's going to take that? JD Vance? Maybe. And all this stuff that Nick says, I think that he believes it, but let's also keep in mind, if JD Vance switches things, he could win Nick over. I don't think that he would have to do certain things that end up pissing Donald Trump off, but he may get to a position where it's like, listen, man, I don't like this kid, but a lot of the things that he's saying, I actually agreed with. Because when you sit back and think about America first, and then you think about Nick, you know, y'all both agree, based on my understanding, that we shouldn't get involved with anything with Iran. Now, Nick thinks because of the Monroe Doctrine, it's okay to take Greenland, okay to take, you know, Venezuela, do whatever we want with their resources. I don't know exactly how JD Vance feels about that, but I know that they both don't want to do Israel's bidding, and that's probably going to be the number one topic that comes up when it comes to this next election as far as the questions that JD Vance is going to get. And think about it. We're not even a year. Wait, are we a year in? Yeah, we're a year in. It's a year in. In 2 more years, Israel, that greater Israel project, may have some progress. I don't know what Palestine's going to look like. We don't know how any of this is going to shape up. So it'll be interesting to see. It will be interesting to see. But I think that we should all be prepared for that Democrat on steroids to come in, because Donald Trump is making Gavin Newsom look more and more appealing by the day. And that is a very tough thing to do. A very tough thing to do. All right, so I think I covered everything. I think I did a little more than I expected on the front end. But yeah, just overall, Trump, you know, he was supposed to be the biggest disruptor, and ended up just being a pawn for Israel, in my opinion. He was supposed to drain the swamp, be anti-establishment. He is the swamp. He's working hard, diligently for the swamp. He's working hard for big business, hard for Silicon Valley, hard for Israel. Yeah. So I'll leave it there. What else is I about to write? What's this last thing? If white people acted like blacks or Hispanics or new Americans, they'd be... Yeah, I ain't even going to take it there. I ain't even going to address that. I had written in my notes a little slick stuff Nick said, but it's all good. It's all good. We ain't even going to make it about that. We're not going to make it about that. We're not going to feed in. I'll leave y'all with that, yeah. As always, appreciate y'all. Y'all let me know where my bias may be creating some blind spots for me, that y'all always do, and I appreciate it. And of course, like, subscribe, turn your notifications on. Word to Big Bro Robert, always reminding us that we need to control the algorithm and not let the algorithm control us. Less Trump energy. Let's not be controlled by the algorithm, because we know who runs the meeting. I'll see y'all on the next one. Ew.
It's the black guy in the corner, but they'd rather see a nigga on the corner. They say I'm stealing Nick's clips like I'm stealing Nick's chick, not knowing that I hit him first week for the lick. I said, Nick, I could post here while you post there. Let's run the ads up, then let's meet up over there. Let's figure out a split that's honorable and fair. Tell me where you trying to take it. Bro, I'll meet you there. 1600 Penn, Wash, D.C. Swear I saw the vision riding through the DMV. I envision prayers, but I could do VP. Hillbilly, Elegy, fuck, I look like JD. Shout out my cheat code, Dave and Karen raised me. And my big bro, a nuclear family. And they don't like that. Fred BLM fought that. LBJ society created all that. Victimhood mentality, I can't embrace that. And everything they taught in school, assume it's all cap. Everything I said I'd be, I am that. Everything I said I'd be, I am that. Everything I said I'd be, I am that. Ain't no introduction, just some fun facts. In case you were wondering, I am that. I know you heard me hit it 3 times for Dr. Umar. Shout out to Umar, man. We ain't kicking nobody when they down. And shout out to everybody that continues to show love, support, appreciating the message that I'm giving y'all along with the bro Nick's message. We gonna keep pushing, man. And shout out to the haters too, cause y'all in the comments heavy too. y'all the ones that gave me the inspiration to create this song. They kept saying like, who's the random black guy in the corner? I am.